Welcome to your Houston Rewind for October 31st through November 4th. I'm KHU 11 digital anchor Brandy Smith. This week has gone by in a flash. Lots of moving parts as the calendar flipped from October to November, and just as busy as we've been, I'm sure you were too. So how about we just hit pause for about 30 minutes to get you caught up on some Houston area stories you may have missed. Let's rewind. Monday kicked off the last week of early voting. Harris County reported voter turnout lower than it's been the past two election cycles. Gerald Harris explained that could be good news for Governor Abbott, who had a 6-point lead over challenger Beto O'Rourke.
Election day is quickly approaching.
At this point, the campaign for all intents and purposes is over.
The first full week of early voting saw Republican Governor Greg Abbott and his opponent, Democrat Beto O'Rourke, crisscrossing the state trying to move voters to the polls.
Abbott's strategy really focuses on getting out the vote in small town and rural Texas, and a real emphasis on the border counties. O'Rourke has focused on the urban areas, some of the cores in Dallas, Houston, etc. He's also put a lot of emphasis on turning out the youth vote.
Right now, political experts say this election is gearing up to be similar to those before the 2020 and 2018 election cycles, where there was record turnout.
When we see low turnout electorates, we tend to assume that we're going to see a generally pretty standard election. When we start to see turnout tick up and get higher, it's not that we think that necessarily benefits one party or the other, but it tells us that we can't be certain exactly what the outcome is going to be as more and more Texans cast ballots.
But nearly a week away from Election Day, new polling from the University of Texas at Tyler shows Abbott maintaining his lead in polling among likely voters, 50 to 44%.
No votes count until votes are counted. But when we look at the sum total of the statewide polling to date, it seems pretty unlikely that Governor Abbott isn't going to walk away with a victory on November 8th.
If you haven't voted yet, your only chance is November 8th. Check out the KHU 11 Voters Guide for everything you need to know before you head to your polling place. You can find it at khuu.com/vote. Ahead of trick-or-treating on Monday, we got an update on construction in Montrose that worried families in the area. Last month, we showed you what prompted those concerns: these large holes in the sidewalk. Maria Aguilera went back to see what's changed.
Candy.
Kim and William Johnson getting ready to welcome trick-or-treaters. Their neighborhood looks more walkable than it did a couple weeks ago.
As mom, I was concerned. It's like, oh my goodness, what are we going to do for Halloween?
Excavation holes were a common sight. Now they are few and far between. Most have been covered by asphalt or temporary patches, but also permanent fixes like freshly poured concrete. The work being done, according to CenterPoint Energy, is related to an ongoing natural gas line replacement project expected to be completed by next summer. The Johnsons and other neighbors have noticed the improvements.
We really would like to see, when any work is done on the sidewalks or streets, that it's done in a safe manner.
Kim Johnson invited families to set up tables in front of their homes to make it easier for kids trick-or-treating to get to.
We're really hoping to get our neighbors out and celebrate in a safe and fun way.
Morgan Sean McWright doesn't have kids, but he'll be participating.
We're hoping to see a good turnout. We have plenty of kids in the neighborhood, so we know they're around.
As far as the work,
the holes weren't great.
Neighbors say they haven't heard much from CenterPoint. Most of their info has been from crews who are working. And while progress in the area is a great sign, they say they just want a clear signal so they can prepare for what's coming next.
So we never really knew what was going to happen, which is kind of frustrating.
Yeah, we really want to make sure that those safety improvements continue, because the sidewalks are going to continue to be used even after Halloween, and we want to make sure it's safe for everybody to use.
KHU 11 reached out to CenterPoint, and the company told us restoration is a top priority. It added there haven't been any excavations within the past week, and any previous excavations have been or will be covered. Now permanent repaving is underway, and that project should be completed by next summer. A long vacant hospital in the 3rd Ward will soon be reimagined. The former Riverside General Hospital served generations of African American families before it closed. On Monday, Jason Miles took a closer look at a new plan that will bring it back as a public health care hub, all while preserving much of its past.
This is one of two buildings that date back more than 90 years when what later became Riverside General was the only hospital in Houston for African Americans. This empty old hospital at Elgin and Ennis will soon have a new life. Can you really come down? Oh. thanks to a multi-million-dollar resuscitation unveiled this morning.
I have a personal tie to Riverside General Hospital because in 1954, Oliver Teresa Ellis gave birth to me in this very hospital.
Harris County Commissioner Rodney Ellis says the site will eventually become a public health hub with brand new facilities built amid historic structures originally known as the Houston Negro Hospital.
There was the only place people could go, people of color could go.
92-year-old Charlotte Kelly Bryant remembers the old hospital and looks forward to having healthcare options return to the area nearly a decade after it permanently closed and various additions were demolished.
If you don't take care of people, they're not here long.
Several organizations kicked in grant money to help get the project off the ground, but the county will be on the hook for much more down the road, along with any local, state, and federal dollars.
Third Ward is full of stark disparities. This is a bright light.
As new construction pops up all around it, this link to the past may serve the community in more ways than one. The estimated completion date for this project is sometime in 2025. That's if all of the funding comes through. Reporting from the Third Ward, Jason Miles, KHOU 11 News.
An 18-year-old is accused of impersonating a CenterPoint energy worker and robbing a pregnant woman at gunpoint in Humble. On Tuesday, Anayeli Ruiz reported a second robber was still on the run.
Defendant is on bond for unlawful carrying of weapons.
18-year-old Javier Cuenca is being charged with aggravated robbery for allegedly pretending to be a CenterPoint energy worker while robbing a pregnant woman at gunpoint along with another suspect.
Entered the complainant's home without consent.
Court documents say the two men pushed their way into the victim's home and demanded jewelry and money.
Threatened the complainant with a firearm.
The suspects got away with the victim's cell phone, and documents say they ran out when they saw the neighborhood security vehicle thinking it was police. Surveillance cameras captured the suspects driving a white-colored big box van with no writing. Documents say it was a rental truck being used by a Harris County Public Health Department employee. The employee told investigators he let a friend borrow the van the week of the home invasion. The county employee was to meet his friend here at this gas station off of Sam Houston Parkway in Humble. And the county employee says he left the van with a man he didn't know who dropped off a Camaro convertible for the county employee to use. When Cuenca was arrested, he told investigators that was him at the gas station the day of the robbery and told investigators he knew what he had done and that he, quote, signed up for it. CenterPoint Energy says these impersonation crimes, unfortunately, happen all over the country.
If we do have somebody on property, ask to see their identification before allowing that utility worker near or in your residence. We want to make sure that you're protected.
The Harris County Public Health Department said it can't comment while there's an ongoing investigation. That's the same reason Harris County deputies gave for not commenting. There's a new push to keep Houston traffic running smoothly. If you've wondered what's next for those empty toll booths that you pass every day, Harris County does have a plan. On Tuesday, Jennifer Reyna explained what's to come and what it means for you.
Stop-and-go traffic has been the norm for Houstonians since the Beltway's inception. Now the Harris County Toll Road Authority is in the midst of a big change in hopes of keeping traffic moving smoothly for years to come.
The cones and barricades blocking lanes and empty toll booths have left many wondering what's next for the Sam Houston Tollway.
Many drivers have seen the signage change over the last few months.
Roxy Cibrian with the Harris County Toll Road Authority says it's all part of the country's first phase of the transition from a mixture of cash and electronic toll lanes to a fully electronic operation.
The transition to all electronic is driven by safety.
But that transition won't be quick.
It's going to take multiple years for the engineers to evaluate the overall system.
This transition to cashless tolling is happening across the country. Here in Harris County, the pandemic accelerated things when toll booths closed to limit the close interaction between operators and drivers.
They've stayed closed ever since, along with the lanes leading up to them.
The narrower lanes have been closed and will stay closed for some time.
That's because they're judged to be unsafe for the high speeds used in the easy tag lanes.
They were intended, originally designed for stop-and-go traffic.
The Toll Road Authority says it's not as simple as ripping out the toll booths and opening up more lanes.
It is looking at the entire system as to how we can continue to add safety measures so that traffic keeps flowing freely.
So what's this mean for drivers? Well, if you already have an easy tag, you're good. Nothing changes. If you don't have one, then you pay tolls directly to the Toll Road Authority's website. For drivers who don't do that, they'll send your toll invoice in the mail based on your car's registration.
Houston's 4 months away from hosting the NCAA Men's Final Four, and you can sign up to be involved. Janelle Bluda shared the NCAA is opening up opportunities to volunteer.
It's been several years since Houston hosted the NCAA Men's Final Four, and next year it's coming back. The NCAA is in town promoting their volunteer positions, which are open to the public today to sign up.
And will show them firsthand that Houston is the greatest city in the world.
Houston rapper Bun B helping in announcing the program that's looking for 2,500 volunteers for the National Championship Week. To volunteer, you must be 18 or older and pass a background check. You must create a volunteer account online, and shifts are available from March 31st to April 3rd. But you won't walk away empty-handed. You'll get some Final Four swag and entry to some great events outside of the games.
Those that fulfill the minimum 3 shifts that will take place during the weekend will be part of a post-event celebration in May, and then there'll be 4 Fan Fest tickets will be free for any volunteers that line up as well.
For more information on how and where to apply, visit our website, khou.com.
The ASTROWORLD tragedy happened a year ago Saturday. 10 people, including a 9-year-old boy, died when they were crushed as the crowd surged toward the stage during Travis Scott's concert. Hundreds more were hurt. Wednesday, Marcelino Benito took a closer look at what's changed to make these events safer.
2 task forces, dozens of lawsuits, and nearly 365 days later, the answer is sadly little to nothing has changed. And a world-renowned expert on crowd safety I spoke with says it is unacceptable. 1 year later,
I'll never forget the look of terror on people's faces.
And the horror thousands in the crowd endured.
I remember being crushed from every side by human bodies.
Still seared into the minds and memories of Houstonians. We now know people were dying in this crowd, and what's worse is experts believe it could easily happen again.
Parents should be concerned, and parents should be angry.
Paul Wertheimer, a crowd safety expert, calls the local and state response to the ASTROWORLD tragedy
absolutely the worst.
Days after the tragedy, Governor Greg Abbott formed the Texas Task Force on Concert Safety. By April of this year, they'd release this 9-page report. Wertheimer says it's a failure with no specifics or timetables for change.
A high school class in Texas could have done better, quicker, and at less cost. The task force didn't even address the main cause identified of this disaster, and that is crowd crush festival seating. You won't even find it in a word search in those 6.5 pages.
Wertheimer says the only way to prevent further tragedies is new tough legislation and criminal charges. But nearly 1 year since this public pledge by Houston Police Chief Troy Finner.
And we need to learn lessons from this.
No one's been charged. The chief and his department only confirming an investigation remains ongoing.
An important goal of the task force.
As for the City-County Task Force on Special Events formed last February to improve how both Harris County and Houston handle major events like ASTROWORLD Festival, there's been no plan announced to make changes. But Commissioner Adrian Garcia says it takes time.
I want to make sure that whatever recommendations they come with are good, solid recommendations that haven't been compromised by the need to announce something within a year.
Wertheimer says it's taken far too long for the public to learn what's been done and what, if anything, will change at the local level to keep people safe.
They said this is a wake-up call, but every time the industry hears a wake-up call, they hit the snooze button.
We put in several requests to speak with officials about the City-County's task force's work, but no one was made available. We have learned the task force did meet last week, and some type of announcement on what changes may be in store could come in the next few days. I'm Marcelino Benito, KHOU 11 News.
If you want to get caught up on what led to the 2021 ASTROWORLD Festival, learn more about what happened at the concert, and find out what's happened since, go ahead and queue up this KHOU 11 Plus special on the 1-year anniversary of the tragedy. Every election, we see campaign signs in yards and on street corners. The Verify team is getting a lot of questions about where candidates are allowed to advertise. Investigative reporter Cheryl Mercedes found out.
They're on street corners and likely scattered throughout your neighborhood. Campaign signs are in bloom. Linda asked the Verify team, is it illegal to put political ad signs on public right-of-ways, medians, side of roads, trees? We have two sources for this. The Texas Department of Transportation, the agency that controls the location of commercial signage, and Texas Transportation Code Chapter 394. TxDOT addresses campaign signs on its website. Here's what they want you to know. It is illegal to place signs on or within a right-of-way or anywhere that poses a safety hazard. That includes trees and telephone poles. Campaign signs can be placed on private property with the owner's permission. That covers homes and businesses, but that's about it. According to the Transportation Code, if you do place a sign somewhere else without a permit, it is a misdemeanor punishable by a fine of between $500 to $1,000 per day. So we can verify it is illegal for candidates to put ads on public right-of-ways. It's always a good idea to check with your local authorities before you post a campaign sign. Keep in mind, if you put it somewhere that's not allowed, it will be removed without notice, and you could be charged a removal fee. With your Verify, I'm Cheryl Mercedes.
It's easy to reach out to us with your Verify questions. All you have to do is email us at verify@khou.com. Now to a story about two rival fans, one rooting for the Astros, the other for the Phillies. Ahead of World Series Game 4 on Wednesday, Sherman Chow introduced us to the strangers who raced across the country for Game 1.
October 28th, the Milwaukee Airport. Also, World Series Game 1 day in H-Town. But for incoming fans, there were 3 weather delays.
Is there another flight I can get on to get to Houston? I really need to get to Houston.
Astros fan and traveling nurse Amanda Cabrera would get to Dallas too late for the connecting flight to Houston before first pitch. Behind her at the airport counter, diehard Phillies fan Todd Alger.
I heard her trying to beg, borrow, plead, steal, whatever she could do. Said, hey, I've got a car waiting in Dallas. If you're interested, we can ride together.
But I sat there and thought about it for it felt like 3 seconds max. And I was like, okay, yeah, let's do it.
She felt safe, well, because the airlines had all of Todd's personal information, and she liked what she learned about him.
Talked a little bit about his family. His wife and his daughter, 10-month-old.
The rival fans flew to Dallas, grabbed a rental car for the 6.5-hour drive in bad weather to arrive at their seats just ahead of the national anthem. During the game, Todd was caught on camera and made into a GIF that's had more than 500,000 views. He was on his best behavior.
I'm representing the whole city at that point.
So why did Todd offer a complete stranger and rival a lift?
I actually lost my dad at the end of August. My dad was a diehard Phillies fan. We had set some money aside just in case they made the World Series for a memory for my dad. Not only am I getting to go to the World Series, help somebody else out too. Help them get there as well.
Well played by the city of brotherly love. Sherman Chow, KHOU 11 News.
This is just a small bit of weeks worth of our Astros postseason coverage. You can catch up on all of it at khou.com/Astros. 5 months after 5 Houston area family members were murdered by an escaped inmate, KHOU 11 Investigates learned new details about that inmate's troubling history behind bars. Thursday, Grace White shared that information, finally released months after she filed the public records requests for it.
As we mourn with the families.
It was an unimaginable loss. 5 family members, investigators say, killed in Centerville at the hands of escaped inmate Gonzalo Lopez.
This is a terrible, terrible wake up that security of inmate transportation is taken too lightly.
That was State Senator John Whitmire in June. Lopez was killed in a shootout with police. While the investigation into how the convicted killer was able to escape from a prison transport bus continues, KHOU 11 Investigates obtained records showing Lopez's discipline history. In 2019, TDCJ documented an assault on another inmate with a sharpened piece of metal. In 2018, Lopez was disciplined for having a cell phone and a charger. And twice in 2016, he was in trouble, once for having a razor blade and once for injuring another inmate during a fight.
It was kind of like a recipe for disaster.
Mitchell Roth is a professor at Sam Houston State University who studies the prison system.
It's one thing to do it one time, but to be written up so many times and then have the advantage of being, able to go to a doctor in another part of the state, so many red flags there.
After learning Lopez got out of his shackles on the bus, cut through a metal barrier, and stabbed the driver, KHOU 11 requested the standard operating procedures for inmate transports. Though heavily redacted, the documents do outline a procedure for logging the location of the keys and transporting high-profile inmates. But it's unclear if those procedures were followed.
Do you expect laws to change, procedures to change because of this case?
Oh yeah, if anything, it was a clarion call for change, for making sure that the prisoners are checked better, that the maximum security prisoners aren't transported from one place to another, that there should be doctors on the site of the institution that they are in, all these little things.
TDCJ has made changes. It's now transporting high-profile inmates by themselves, and it enhanced search procedures. The Texas Rangers are doing their own investigation. TDCJ promised to make those results public. A nurse who tried to help rapper Takeoff after he was shot this week in Houston says it was too late by the time she got there from her nearby apartment. She spoke to Jason Miles on Thursday to dispel some of the information floating around on social media. And just a warning, some of these details are disturbing.
A traveling nurse I'll call Sarah heard rapid gunfire overnight Tuesday from where she lives, not far from the Green Street Entertainment Complex, which quickly became a crime scene.
My neighbors were underneath me. I said, "Did y'all hear that?" That sounded like gunshots.
She says she waited for initial chaos to calm down before running to who she later learned was rapper Takeoff, yelling, quote, "I'm a nurse," after retrieving medical supplies from her car.
His head was this way and up, and his eyes were rolled back and fixed. And I saw a pile of blood behind his head.
Sarah says she checked Takeoff's pulse numerous times, but he was already dead.
People on social media are saying, why didn't you do CPR and this kind of thing? That would not be appropriate?
That would not be appropriate, especially with a gunshot wound. You would never do CPR because you would be circulating the blood and the blood would go right out of the hole.
Takeoff was around the same age as one of Sarah's children, and she feels for the family and also hopes someone who knows who shot him comes forward. As for telling her story, she says she wanted to send a message.
And I just want something good to come out of this. Somebody to know that good people sometimes show up just because.
The nurse told Jason she had second thoughts about doing the interview and obviously didn't want to be identified. She says she did speak with HPD, but since she didn't witness the actual shooting, she wasn't able to provide much valuable information. The safety of dry shampoo is in question again. Last month, 5 brands of dry shampoo were voluntarily recalled. On Thursday, Tiffany Craig explained why an independent lab wants more brands recalled.
34 different dry shampoo brands were analyzed by an independent lab called Valisure. They were tested for benzene, a cancer-causing chemical that could be detected in the air after the cans were sprayed. The results showed that from the 148 batches tested, some multiples of the same brand, 70% had quantifiable levels of benzene. Which is why Valisure sent a petition to the FDA requesting recalls on the affected batches. But you should know, the FDA normally takes 180 days to respond to a petition like this.
So what can you do if you have any of these or the ones listed in the petition? You could switch to a powder dry shampoo, or if you're using spray, use it in a well-ventilated room or outside. Right now on KHOU.com, you can see the petition sent to the FDA with all the brands, and we have info about the recalled products as well. Friday was the last day of early voting, and there is a lot on the line this election. Ugochi Oloka broke down how high the stakes really are.
Midterm elections take place halfway through a president's 4-year term. The election is considered a referendum on how Americans are feeling about the first half of a president's term and a chance for the minority party to flip the balance of power in Washington. All 435 House seats are up for election as representatives serve 2-year terms. Senators, on the other hand, serve 6-year terms, and their election years are staggered. This year, 35 of the 100 seats in the Senate will be elected. 36 states will elect a governor this year. And even though President Joe Biden isn't on the ballot, the midterm elections will play a big role in what the president can accomplish in the final 2 years of his current term. One of the biggest questions is whether Democrats will hold their narrow majority in Congress. Analysts predict Republicans have a chance to take back both the House and Senate.
Okay, one last push. Go ahead, text the word VOTE to 713-526-1111, and we will send you the link to the KHU 11 voter guide with everything you need to know ahead of Election Day on November 8th. A year after the ASTROWORLD tragedy, the wheels of justice are turning slow. So far, only 2 wrongful death cases have been settled, but thousands of other claims remain unresolved. On Friday, Jeremy Rogalski examined where the legal fight stands and what to expect next.
The legal consequences of the crowd surge and chaos that marred the ASTROWORLD Festival won't be fully known anytime soon.
The law is complicated and facts are complicated, especially in a case like this.
Peter Salib is a UH assistant professor of law.
There's just a lot to find out.
1 year later, both sides are still trying to find out exactly what went wrong through the discovery process, the exchange of evidence and depositions of key players.
What agreements did the promoters have with the venue? What did they say to each other about who was in charge? What did you do to prepare? What did you know? When did you know it?
To help move that process along, nearly 400 lawsuits representing close to 5,000 plaintiffs have been consolidated into what's known as an MDL, or multi-district litigation.
The goal, legal experts say, is to settle the cases through the help of a mediator. But if the plaintiffs and more than 60 defendants cannot come to terms, a sampling of cases may go to trial.
Those likely would come from each category of lawsuit: wrongful death cases, extensive injury cases, less serious injuries, and other damages like PTSD.
It gives the parties some idea of what the value of that type of case may be.
Randy Sorrells is a former Texas State Bar president and expert in complex litigation. He says the total potential payout to ASTROWORLD victims could be staggering.
And you're probably talking about dollars in the hundreds of millions of dollars, maybe even approaching $1 billion when it's all said and done.
Now, you most likely won't hear from victims or anyone involved in the lawsuits in the media. The judge has issued a gag order. As for the MDL case, the next status conference is set for later this month, but at any time, plaintiffs' attorneys can work out a settlement for their own clients. Jeremy Rogalski, KHU 11 Investigates.
Again, you can watch our KHU 11 Plus special about the tragedy at the ASTROWORLD Festival online via KHOU.com and YouTube, as well as by using our KHU 11 Plus app on Roku and Fire TV. Basically, anywhere you're watching this right now. Hope that helped you catch up on this past week and you are ready for the next one. Have a great week.